Hey, what's up? This is Mike with Sharing the Disruption podcast, and today I am going to do an abbreviated version of the podcast I've been doing, which has been pushing an hour. And I'm going to focus on something. I'm going to change things up. I'm not going to focus on COVID-19. I'm going to focus on a topic that can make us some money and just happens to be as most of my investments do well despite different circumstances, and I like resilient investments. So it just so happens that this investment will do very well in this environment, and that is cloud computing and cloud storage. And really, this term is used in popular culture so much. We just cloud stocks, software as a service, cloud this, cloud that, put it in the cloud. I mean, it's just, it's almost meaningless. Like, people don't really know what it is. You'll go on investment newsletters online and, invest in these cloud companies. And it's like, so are all cloud companies created the same? It seems like anything associated with cloud, and some companies will just lump cloud into their descriptions because it's instant money. If you want money, easy capital for your company, just throw the word cloud in there and suddenly you get money. So what are the most profitable areas of cloud, and are there different sections, and can we distinguish them? And so we're trying to think intelligently about investments yes, cloud is a very profitable area. It has so much momentum that's not even looking to slow down. It's creating this flywheel effect where you're having spin-off industries like Cloud Edge, and people don't even know what cloud is, so how are they going to know what that is? It's creating a booming semiconductor industry. It's going into all your different devices now, to where you have smart homes. It's going into vehicles. So let's define cloud. And cloud is actually a term that's been around since the 90s. And all it really means is a global network of data centers that deliver services or completion of tasks for its users. And it doesn't even have to have the internet. It can just be between networks. They just communicate with each other. There are 4 main types of cloud. Let's first break it down into these 4 different types of cloud. And there's private cloud, which is where it's not open to the public, obviously, and it's not shared. It's possibly on site, or it's at least a closed network, and it's only available to certain people. And then there is a hybrid cloud, which is let's say there's public cloud, which is available to the public. There's hybrid cloud, which can be a mix of public and private clouds. And there's a community cloud, which maybe is, like a government might have, that kind of lets it be accessible to different branches, so that different people can pull data off of it. So now that we kind of narrowed that down, let's talk about within cloud itself. Let's just say we're talking about public cloud. What are there subcategories below that? Because the categories I just named don't really create a ton. It doesn't narrow you down into specific companies to invest in. So let's break this down into, you've got your cloud, which on this computer screen, and think of it like a pyramid. And you've got your base supports everything, and your base is called, it has a name. It's called Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS for short, if you see that. You've had some early companies that got into cloud, like Salesforce and Amazon, and a lot of these companies like kind of built up the backbone of cloud. And then you had a wave after that of Microsoft, IBM, Alphabet, Alibaba, Tencent. They got in, and a lot of these early companies were the ones that built up the backbone of this. And infrastructure as a service is like the nuts and the bolts of cloud. And a lot of these companies, VMware is another one, Google, a lot of these companies operate this infrastructure as a service platform, and they operate the giant servers and the underlying infrastructure that supports cloud. Amazon really got a lot of this going, and a lot of people didn't know they were so big into this thing called web services, because as they were building up their e-commerce behemoth early on, they realized they had all this extra data storage. And Jeff Bezos being finding a way to make money on everything, he decided that he could sell that extra storage to businesses, and you sell it modularly, like on an as needed basis. So like somebody, like a small little business, could buy up some data and they could grow into their data, and until they become a big company where they're renting, and maybe someday they get big enough where they can operate their own cloud. So it kind of like that, those data centers can follow a business the whole lifetime of the business. So that's the most essential part of the cloud, is that. There's another one, which is the second step on the pyramid, is platform as a service. And it enables software developers to build, manage, and deploy applications. So it allows a lot of things to be built on top of the cloud. And I guess it's a lot for developers, and I'm not an expert, but a lot of these are kind of more for writing programs and developers and things like that, I think. And some of these companies that benefit from that are like Salesforce, Twilio. There's a decent bit of them, so I've circled some of the biggest players on them. ServiceNow, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, SAP, CenturyLink, Oracle, IBM, VMware, Cisco, Alibaba, Shopify, Fujitsu, SAP. That's just some. Just because a company is in one of these categories, whether it's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service, that doesn't isolate them to one of those categories. There's companies that are in two of those. There's companies that are in all three. So I would say, like, if you're looking for like a sure bet investment and a company that's going to be profitable, like, and a safe bet for your money, I would say the level of safety is the further down in the pyramid. Those companies are probably pretty secure companies. And the risk goes up as the amount of companies goes up. When you get into software as a service, which is the broadest category, which is funny because it's actually the tiniest part of the pyramid, but that's just for representation. There's a lot of companies, and I even have trouble sifting through all these companies and figuring out what's worth investing in. Now, these are some of the highest growth companies, because you've got these companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. I mean, they do grow, and they grow a good bit, but when you're talking about software as a service company, like, you're talking about small companies that can grow incredibly fast until they really have gotten out there. And take Zoom. Think about it. Zoom, like, it was more of a fringe product, and then this whole COVID-19. I mean, I knew people that were using it before, but now it's just like a verb that's out there. I mean, you look at like what their stock was and then what it was after this. That's the kind of things you don't see Amazon going up that much that quickly. So with risk comes reward. So if you want high risk, high reward, software as a service companies are more that space. If you want more security, go further down. Now, I like staying within that pyramid of this software because of the incredible margins. But you have companies that operate outside of it that provide for the software. Before I get into talking about software as a service, there are those flywheels, I said, those other industries that benefit massively from cloud. And that would be in the form of hardware, and companies that you can invest in those areas are companies like Cisco. They do a lot of router equipment, Arista, NVIDIA, and Micron. They do chips. There's AMD, Intel, Taiwan Semiconductor, and that's a constant race in the semiconductor space, is to develop the best chips. These data centers are loaded with hardware and chips, and that's some of the big money makers. Some of the companies like Amazon and Google are even looking at making their own chips. I'm sure that would save them a lot of money if they were able to develop really effective chips. Another company I invest in, it's kind of outside of that thinking, is Atcor, and they actually make conduit, cables, and a lot of kind of the equipment and hardwiring that goes into. There's tons of cabling and stuff like that goes into it. It's more of kind of an industrial play on cloud. So you got to think about all the construction aspects of it. Now, I don't have enough time. I can spend other days on software as a service company, but I thought I would just name some of the. I will name the biggest software as a service companies in two areas, because you got to break them down into two kind of ways of thinking. One is B2B, which is business to business, and one is B2C, which is business to consumer. Business to business meaning the companies are selling their products to other businesses. Business to consumer meaning they're selling to the end user, such as like Spotify selling their products to you, less so than to other businesses. Salesforce sells a lot of their products to other businesses. So I've got a top 10 list for, well, it's not a top 10 because some of them, I took out company names that are not investable, that aren't stocks. So these are kind of top list for business to business. Is starting off with Salesforce. They have 58 cloud products. Pretty much, I mean, they're just a massive company that has lots of different, they're buying up companies constantly, and they have a lot of services. ServiceNow, they have enterprise automation for streamlining work and conversations across the whole organization. There's Workday, which is a tool for human resources teams for management and human capital. There's Atlassian. They have different software that helps with team collaborations, projects, and code quality. Square, that's it's a lot of it was started as something to run credit cards, a thing that plugs into your phone. Now they run point of sale systems and all kinds of different stuff, services to businesses. Veeva is cloud solutions for applications in pharmacy and global life sciences industries. Splunk, software for searching, for monitoring and analyzing, interpreting machine-generated big data. Twilio connects people by providing businesses with tools to communicate with internal and external stakeholders. Okta, I have some experience with that. It's really nice. You put in one password and it lets you into a hub that has all your applications where it keeps it secure and you don't have you don't have to like enter all these different passwords in and open up all these different things. Everything's just kind of in one spot. Paycom helps businesses manage and optimize their payroll operations. And now we go to business to consumer. You've got Dropbox, a lot of people are familiar with, cloud storage for documents and data. They have 4 main products. Elastic NV, they're in business to business and business to consumer. They have a data analytics platform that allows users to explore their data differently by a search feature. So you're collecting all this data as a company, and it allows you to have this interesting tool that allows you to search that data. Wix is a low-code way to build websites for people that aren't super. It has a lot of creative tools, and if you have little experience in building websites, they don't have Shopify on here, but I would have Shopify way above Wix. It's a great platform, and it's way more popular. They've got Car Gurus for buying and selling new and used cars. Pluralsight, which does online education platform that analyzes different career skills and provides courses that teach customers how to use technology based on their assessment scores, which I kind of had an exclamation point when I read that. Was like, oh, that sounds great for the environment we're in. So there's a lot of interesting, especially we're in kind of this high growth, and a lot of people are being forced into, with this COVID situation, into different behaviors. And so when I'm looking at these riskier SaaS companies, I would look at companies that are really taking advantage, like your Zooms or your education, medical kind of software companies that are taking advantage of these situations and are really kind of in the right place at the right time. So that's kind of an introduction to cloud. There's, like I said, there's spin-off industries of that, which I want to cover later on. I'll do something on cloud edge and maybe go into some semiconductors and different things like that. But for now, that's kind of like a very brief version of what is the cloud and what's some different ways I can invest in the cloud and which ways are less risky and which are more, and maybe where can I see the biggest gains in my finances. So thanks for checking me out. Let me know what you think of this shorter format, and it's a little bit shorter and more concise. And so send me some messages online. You can follow me on Facebook, and just give me a shout out and let me know what you think. Thanks, have a good one.